Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Sky.
This week we talk about Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 7, Behind the Curtain. Tough episode for me.
Yeah, in some ways.
But begin where we left off.
Well, before we get into
Okay.
the actual episode, there was something interesting I found in the new intro cinematic.
Oh, okay.
While not in any of the group shots, Robbie has his own title card and doesn't say guest starring or special guest or anything like that. I think at the very least, he is permanent for the campaign. They may switch out his spot with the next campaign.
Okay.
But I think that's a fairly good indicator that he's sticking around and not just staying for an arc.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot easier to shoot a live intro like that than it is to, say, do the animated one they did.
Yeah. But I mean, if he was only going to be there for a single arc or a short period, I don't think they would have taken the time to put him in.
Fair. Yeah.
So that was like the first thing that caught my attention. I was like, oh, and it doesn't say anything, like with or special guest.
Yeah.
So, because I know the internet is still debating whether he's only going to be there for an arc or the whole campaign, or he's permanent cast, or.
Yeah, and I'm with Rose on this. I think it'd be easy to switch him out.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me that they filmed all of their guest stars for this season on the same day.
You think they already know all their guest stars? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Colville was slated to join the cast and didn't. But he was scheduled to come on months ahead.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Months ahead, sure. But when you have a show where the season or campaign is 2 to 3 years long,
yeah, but like if you're going to do guest star stuff, Matt does the kind of prep that facilitates the long view.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with you, Rose. It is set up to where they could put anyone else in there. I just, because I know they know who they want a long time in ahead, but it's up in the air whether their schedules ever work out or they get the chance to do it. And are they going to bring all these people in to film a scene on one day that may or may not end up being?
So it depends on whether or not the set that they built for the opening shot is still built or not.
True.
Because it's real easy to get your friends to come in over a couple days to shoot these plates.
Yeah.
Takes 20 minutes out of their day at most.
That's fair.
So, and if this is, well, no, it's not going to be the standard thing because they do change it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I took the fact that he wasn't in the final shot or any of the group shots just as the group shots were the partners. That's how I took it. Just because someone joins the cast for a campaign doesn't mean they're part of,
Yeah.
It could just be an employee. Doesn't mean they're one of the partners.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to what we discussed about guest star or special guest star versus regular cast member.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think he probably makes day rates. And, oh, excuse me, that's that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Jeez.
Bless you.
Thank you. So one of the things that tipped me off that them going into the theater was not necessary for their investigation was Matt rolling for the performance.
Okay.
I talk about this a lot, as often as I can, wherever I can. But when you roll the dice, you're not looking for a success.
No.
You're testing for failure. And that's what Matt was doing.
Okay.
And was happy when it happened on the third roll. I think he wanted it on the second roll. And he didn't get it.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay. And then he wrote, and then he's like, okay, yeah. So the performance ended early. And that enabled them, to get on with the investigation.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, in retrospect, all they needed to do was walk around the place.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Sam giving us some fresh cut grass foley when they were at the end of the performance and he taps his metal mug. That's what it sounds like when FCG claps.
Fair enough.
And they decide to take the tack of, we got box seats, so that equates to backstage passes.
Right? It's the VIP pass.
I loved Liam after they sort of blunder through. And he's like, well, we're going to let the faces handle it, but I guess we're all doing it. Face?
Yes.
What's a face?
Yeah. Like, who's good at lying? I am. He should talk to, he's good, he's the one that paid the money. Okay, these two are going to do it. Everyone else chime in. Which happens so often at the table.
Well,
at any table.
And in large part, it's because last campaign, the characters with the highest charisma actively did not wish to be the face.
Yeah.
And eschewed the title and role altogether. So, in a way that was good because it kept the group from falling into these two players always do all the talking.
Yeah.
Which can make those social encounters end up getting stale after a while.
Yeah.
So I think it will be the same this campaign, I think.
I think it'll be pretty round robin.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of reasons to do that, as far as roleplay going. Like they said, yes, Robbie has a good charisma, but he's the one that paid for the seats.
Yeah.
He could have been the lowest charisma person, but because he paid for the seats, he's one of the ones that should be up there.
Yeah. Laudna yells fire in a crowded theater and uses thaumaturgy to give the illusion that a fire was actually burning.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I'm going to say this about that. It was allowed. That's fine. Your game, your thing. But please, as a player, as someone who loves those type of spells, read Thaumaturgy, read Prestidigitation. They both do very similar things, but very different things.
Yeah.
They work in concert together. People just kind of assume they're the same thing and can do all the things with both of them. And they're very different spells. Both very amazing, but it goes back to know your spells.
Yeah. And Matt did sort of... You're talking about making the sound?
Yeah, making a sound?
Yeah. Yeah. But she can make the scent of fire.
Yes. 100%.
Wafting it from back there.
I'm 99% sure you can't make an illusion of fire, though, or smoke with it.
No, but you can make sensory effects.
Yes, you can make the smell.
Yeah,
you can feel heat against your skin.
You can change the color, snuff out fire.
No, Prestidigitation can snuff out or light up fire, not Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy can open and unlock doors in windows. See what I mean?
Yeah.
They each distinctly
similar.
Each things different. Are similar, but they do very different things each.
Yeah. Fresh cut grass gets them their true in and welcoming.
Yep.
By offering medical assistance to the injured performer.
Yeah.
And Matt describes a fractured tailbone,
which is not fun.
No. Yeah. I've hurt my tailbone significantly. Not to the point of fracturing, but that sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel for the kid.
Yeah.
Fresh cut grass casts cure wounds. And got an interesting bit of magical consent.
Yeah.
Role play that you don't always get. Especially with spells like cure wounds and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting to see.
Well, you did make the joke that he's what happened to Henry Crabgrass, so he knows all about consent.
It's true. Imogen and Orem look out into the house.
Yep.
And see their tail. And decide to follow them as they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And promptly lose them. Do you think it was ever a possibility for Chetney to appear then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because, in my mind, that would have been the best time.
Yeah. If they had done more out there, looked around for any other suspicious characters, they'd have seen them more than likely, I think.
Okay.
If they had gone around the theater before entering and buying the tickets, they probably would have found him then.
Okay. Because to my mind, when you're introducing a new character, and this is I don't know, they do it in comic books a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They do it in any story where you're going to be joining a team. It is helpful for combat to happen early.
Yes.
And or as part of the introduction of that character. And I think there would have been less player acceptance, and Liam sort of put the thing when he's like, we don't know Hugh, he might not gel with their party, he put no, just because Travis is our friend doesn't mean this guy is going to be our friend.
Exactly.
Where combat and that new character coming to the aid of the party really helps smooth that transition out.
Yeah.
And makes it much more believable. And you don't have to do as much work.
Yeah.
To get over that.
There's something about fighting for your life with someone that kind of establishes a bond.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm wondering if that's going to come back and bite them. In the sense that, like, it hurts verisimilitude.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, like, when I kill PCs in rapid succession, especially if it's the same player's character, it can be a little gear grinding on the narrative to fit them in as smoothly as possible. And there's a certain amount of hand waving that you can do that is done at the table for players to accept this new character into the mix. But when it happens quickly, or without that shared danger, trauma, what have you, that combat brings, it strains credulity a little bit. And I appreciate Liam leaning on it and saying, no. Just because.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I liked. Yeah, Rose, exactly. Yeah. Because he asked.
He's like, yeah, can I come with you guys?
Yeah. I'm looking for somebody, is what he tells him.
Yeah.
And sort of like Bertrand deciding that these guys are people he can work with, maybe. He seems to have used the same logic with Chetney.
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody.
For a job.
And
no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So yeah,
Although I do appreciate the fact that Laura was the one to bring him in to sing.
Yeah.
Because it was her telepathic message to him that prompted Matt to say, Travis, you want to join us?
Yeah. I liked Liam.
I think him fighting with them was probably preferential, but not necessitated. Strictly because he could have joined the fight.
Yes.
Since he was watching. Could have texted Matt and said, hey,
Yeah.
Well,
if he was supposed to fight with them, then Matt just says...
Yeah, Matt could have just shot him a text. Hey,
roll initiative.
Get ready to come to the table on your count.
Yeah. So I don't think he was necessarily supposed to. It just
It
would have been better.
Yes, it would have been preferential.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was. I think he was definitely supposed to be introduced earlier, but they never went there.
Yeah. I loved Liam's "I'm always at advantage."
Yeah.
When Mauritia was like, "Oh, I'll aid him. I already have advantage."
Yeah. I wonder why he always has advantage.
His shield.
Oh yeah, that's right, the shield. I was like, because I watch another show, and one person claims they always have advantage on certain things. They're the Blood Hunter, and they really don't. It's only in specific situations using that skill.
Yeah.
But it's allowed, and I'm like, okay, I can hand wave that. But
yeah,
it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Every single thing.
Well, for perception checks, he always has advantage. Yeah.
I just forgot about the shield. I was like, why do you always have it?
Yeah, I mean
that just.
Also, from a rules as written standpoint, Matt letting them interchange perception and investigation.
Yeah.
Was also irksome to me.
Yeah. Well, for me, I just always pause when someone says I always have advantage on this. It's like, why would it? Because most things that give you advantage, it's for a specific. It's not like you have advantage every time you use Arcana. It's when you use Arcana about this.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the Peanut Gallery addition to spells and abilities that started with Laudanna's messaging and that Liam tried to put into Imogen's telepathic communications with the banjos. How far that's going to go. And if Laura's pushback was sufficient to stop it.
I think it was.
Okay.
To me, it came off as we're just joking about this. I think the echoes for Laudna is about as far as it's going to go. Okay. We may see one shot flavor things, but that's going to be the only consistent one.
Okay. They are not very good at the spy versus spy thing.
Or are they paying true homage to Spy versus Spy?
Fair enough.
I mean, you can't bring up Spy versus Spy without taking that.
Fair. We got our first cross-campaign reference outside of Bertrand, I guess. So I guess it's second. But another member of Vox Machina. To Kill a God.
Yep.
Scanlan Shorthalt's one-man show. And again, it was Sam. Because in campaign 2, it was Terry.
Yeah.
And his book. So, interesting.
Well, he's the one that had the characters that do those things. At least in campaign 1, he had the author and the showman.
Fair.
I mean, unless they play Pike up to be Brother Love's Traveling Salvation show. That's about all you're going to get.
That's true. But we had a large chunk then of exposition.
Yep.
I appreciate that Matt basically kept the rules of who knows what in his mind for the information to give the players. Because not every NPC is omniscient.
Correct.
The boss man knows that there's a problem, appreciates that somebody's here to do something about it, questions them about whether or not they're angling for an audition, because Robbie is there. And Fresh Cut Grass asks about auditions, and you were talking about you were surprised that they didn't mention Annie.
There was a couple of times I thought they were going to,
Yeah. And I also, especially with Fresh Cut Grass, him asking, that was definitely, I think, in his mind, for Annie.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it was for Dorian.
Right, no.
Although it wouldn't surprise me if Sam, somewhere in the recesses of his mind, has made it his long con objective to get Annie and Dorian to perform together.
I can see that.
Because I think he got a taste of it
when he set them up for the
musical duel, yeah. And so I think that seed was planted in his brain, where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make this happen."
Yeah, I can see that.
That's
a very Sam thing.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of shocked me a little bit, the whole episode was very much theater, inside jokes, superstitions. Liam jokingly makes a comment about, he says Macbeth.
Yeah.
And Matt's like, "Oh man, I didn't even think about this place could be under a curse." So we'll see if that comes to anything.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it just made Sam a little too comfortable. That he was at a table joking around with his friends about inside jokes.
Yeah.
When he goes on about, as they're leaving, and he says, "I have just another question for you," after the audition comment. He talks about how my friends say I have a good voice. How do I get into...
Yeah, that's all you need, right?
Yeah. Which, if you've watched a lot of panels on YouTube of them, there's always questions like that.
Yeah.
From the audience. And I thought it was a little trolly. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. Where that was a joke amongst them, but it's a sort of a legitimate question they get a lot.
Yeah.
From their fans, and it just rubbed me a little wrong. I don't know. Again, it could have just been I wasn't much in the mood.
Yeah.
The episode wasn't firing on all cylinders like episode 6 was. I don't know. It just...
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't take much objection to it. I mean, I joke with my friends at work about our jobs.
Yeah. But generally, you're not joking about the customers in view of the customers. And that's basically what he was doing.
Yeah. That's fair.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if the stuff that they were getting in their investigation in the theater is going to come back in any way. Because part of me thinks it won't at all. But there's another part of me that Matt, in the sense that you always want multiple ways to get at something, that could be one, that this information is part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he does have an attention thing, Rose. I see it as the wants to be a real boy type thing.
Yeah. I mean, so there was a lot of Pinocchio allegory parallels in a lot of the Data stories on Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to have a lot of those with Fresh Cut Grass.
Yeah.
And Pinocchio, one of his happiest times early in the story when he's away from Geppetto is when he's on stage.
Yeah.
Until he realizes, until he starts getting exploited and captured and all that stuff. So I think there's definitely that aspect of it somewhere in there. I don't know how overt it will be.
I don't think it's going to be the point to where he transforms into a real organic character race, but maybe finds confirmation of some sort of another that he does have a soul. He's one of the soul touched.
Yeah.
Whether that be he goes down and someone else brings him back somehow.
Although it does sort of beg the question, could Caleb's Widow Gas transformation work on Fresh Cut Grass?
I think that determines on whether Matt rules that he has a soul or not. If he has a soul to transfer into a new body, sure.
Okay. So when I was making my notes, I wrote down erased, wrote it a different way, erased it. But I can't get this nagging feeling that the gnomish woman that they talked to, who had a very, I don't know if Matt was going for it or not, but for me, a very Dame Edna feel to her. So I don't know if he was going for that, but that was just, so in my head, she's Dame Edna. Do you think that Chetney has anything to do with her?
No, but it's too early to be certain either way.
Okay, because it's one of, it won't leave my head, so I have to say it just in case it happens.
Yeah,
because I have a feeling that she is in some way connected to Chetney, be that ex-wife, sister, cousin, maybe. Because she's a peer of his. She's about as old as he is.
Right.
Not that all gnomes know each other, or have to, but...
Right.
And it could just be a result of the way that I've world-built gnomes on Araku. That they basically all do.
It would explain why he's hanging out at the theater.
Mm-hmm. And why he has an in into that box. Because I am 80% certain he is the one who carved outside.
Okay.
In the box. It wasn't a message between lovers or anything. Because Matt described it as being very well done and subtly hidden
Yeah. See, I
which
assumed it was
strikes me as a
whoever put.
woodworking rogue.
I mean, okay, yeah, that's a valid point. For me, it was probably whoever put the fucking mimic out there. Carve it, lure people outside, feed the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it was a mimic.
Right. Well,
it was using the stats of a mimic.
For lack of a better terminology, the mimic.
Yes.
It was an inanimate object with a face, eye.
Well, I mean, everything in that stat block said mimic.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember what book it's in, there's a large mimic that has a acid breath weapon.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was the stat block of a mimic. But because Imogen found the little round things attached,
control orbs,
I don't think it's a mimic.
No, I mean, those could have been just to keep it from attacking the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I half expected there to be stuff behind the mimic, because he said there's like 10, 15 feet behind it. And it could have been, I need to go back there. This wall is, this mimic is there to give me that hiding space.
Yeah.
Okay, press, trigger the orbs. You can't attack me. I can get by you and get my stuff.
Yeah. I don't get the feeling that the message in the box was, because she was meeting her lover there. They were at the theater together. They're not going to write a message to one another.
Right. No, I agree 100%. It was not. It was either Travis or whoever put the mimic there.
Okay.
Like, my brain went to whoever put the mimic there. But, yeah, a woodworking rogue, I could very much, especially if he was trying to get someone to take care of the mimic. And again, I know it's not, but for lack of a better terminology.
Yeah. Do we want to take a stab at who he's looking for? I mean, we basically got nothing. But
I mean, we may as well if you have any ideas, because I'm pretty sure we're going to find out next episode anyway.
An elf named Charles Kringle.
Except for he's dead. The gnome that Chutney is based off, Chutney, is canonically the killer of.
But they brought him back.
You
can't kill Santa Claus.
You can. You just have to become Santa Claus. Didn't you see the movie with Tim Allen?
Okay. He's marbles.
Oh, so now we're going Peter Pan, huh? In an ironic twist, it'll be the anger.
I thought about that too. Because in a lot of ways, all of us who were thinking that he was going to bring in, we were all thinking that he was going to be the anger.
Yeah.
It made the most sense. The list goes on. So it would be funny that if he's looking for the anger. But I somehow don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't. I said ironic twist because I don't think it's.
He may be looking for Duggar.
Ooh, yeah.
And that gives them further reason to continue looking into the broomstone.
Yeah.
So either he's looking for Duggar or someone else connected to the broomstone.
Yeah.
Smuggling. Is my guess. Couple things that I wanted to mention. Everyone who always is like, up your D&D game with terrain and da-da-da. We saw in this episode the downsides of terrain.
Yeah.
No one could see anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And even us at home, Liam's like, no, leave it for the people at home. We at home also could not see anything.
Yeah.
Down that alley. So, yeah, I wanted to mention that. That terrain can be as much of a hindrance as a help.
Yep.
The damage type not mattering was mentioned. And the only reason that it sort of sticks out to me is because looking through my notes on stuff that I've been working on in the past, I have weapons and armor rules changes.
Yeah.
Weapon qualities and the damage types and armor matter in it, basically.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about how did she take piercing or bludgeoning from the tentacle.
Yeah.
Astros,
yeah, I thought that for a minute too.
I considered it, but I don't think so.
I mean, it's more likely than Kringle.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes. I'll grant you that. That was my troll answer. If you're going to play Chutney, we're going to bring in Chris Kringle. But we were right that it was a rogue that he was going to play.
Rogue, yep. And if it's really based off Chutney, it is a mastermind rogue.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which, love the mastermind rogue. My favorite rogue archetype. I love that 30-foot-8 as a bonus action.
Yeah. And yeah, Rose, he rolled about as good as Robbie. Because I think Robbie has a plus 11 total.
I think so,
and he's sitting at a plus 10 total.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. And the not helpful rage, which gave him a power of decay. Ashton was another indication that Matt designs for his table.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that flies. Because I think that's why the Wild Magic Barbarian didn't make it out of UA intact.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, the high strength is.
So I was thinking about that. And there's nothing mechanically that limits small races from high strength.
Right.
And they don't have a carrying capacity. So, literally, they can carry like ants.
Well, for me, the ironic thing about it is that he's got the 10 in charisma when mastermind rogues use charisma and intelligence more than strength. You get disguise kit, you get stuff that's based on charisma, you get class features that use your intelligence.
So,
And he put
You're
the plus
right.
3 in strength and not in dex or intelligence or charisma.
And here's why. There's a reason why.
Okay.
And the reason is because Travis likes to play strong characters.
Yeah.
Ford was painful for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam teasing him constantly about his strength.
And that was even with the ability to use charisma instead of strength for your stat numbers.
Yes. For your attack modifier, yeah. I think, as Rose mentions, Jester, I think he wants that high strength.
Fair.
And, I mean, woodworking is something that you can use strength in doing.
Yeah.
Lifting big logs, the pushing of chisels.
I would love to see that.
Or when he arm wrestles Ashton, because that's coming.
Yeah.
That's got to be coming.
Although Ashton did use his ASI to pump up his strength to 18 and dex to 16. You notice the stats. And Fresh Cut Grass upped his con index, or maybe wisdom and con. He bumped 2 up by plus
Okay.
1. Like I said, Orem bumped his dex to cap out that 20.
Yeah.
And we know that Laura got a feat that gave her a plus 1 to dex because her dex went up by 1, and that's the only thing that went up. What feat she got, I don't know, but it's one that adds 1 to dex. So, I mean, that could be athlete, that could be light armor proficiency, could be any number of things.
Yeah, Prodigy doesn't give you an ability score improvement, I don't think.
But Skill Expert does. Which it very well could be. Give her a skill, give her expertise, give her a plus 1 to a stat.
Indomitable, I think, also gives a plus, or not Indomitable,
Resilient.
Resilient, that gives the
That we give her
proficiency.
in the save, yeah. And Robbie took Magic Initiate Sorcerer. And we got Chromatic Orb. According to crit roll stats, that's the feat he took. We know that he got that through the feat because he said, I used Chromatic Orb because
Once
I
a
took
day.
the feat.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think.
The only one I'm not sure of is what Fern did. I don't remember her stats going up, so I think she took a feat that doesn't adjust her stats.
And maybe she did the Wizard Magic Initiate to do Find Familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of a sidetrack there.
Well, not really. I mean,
yeah. Back to the investigations, though. I do want to hand it to Robbie. He was clutch in the questioning. Because every time someone was doing something that started to go south, he stepped in and got the
corrected, redirected,
and got the information they needed. He was a shine there. I mean, honestly, between those redirects and the how do you want to do this,
Give him MVP.
He's probably my MVP this week. He kept the story going. He went in with the, got the kill shot on the fight, was helping people out, gave the inspiration to the healer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue any of that.
He was the team player this episode.
I mean, I still think, like, for me, the draw of the show is Fern and Laudna.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean,
Laudna will always be a contender just because it's Laudna, and I stand Laudna.
Yeah.
And Fern had the best one-liner.
Yeah.
Collecting the teeth. Hey, this is a crime scene that I made.
And I loved it. We have to collect everything. I'm leaving.
Yeah. You don't need the teeth. You don't need to identify this. You know what it is. No, as a matter of fact, we don't. Well, fine, I'm leaving.
So good.
Like, yeah. Fern definitely has the best, just one line.
Yeah.
And when she stole the dress. I was just picturing the episode of Will and Grace where they visit the guy and he's like sending his wife's dress to the funeral, the real short guy.
I don't remember that.
And Deborah, Grace puts on the dress and gets caught wearing the dress. And, you know.
Yeah. Continuing, well, Robbie still thinks he can only use his boots of flying once a day.
Oh, was he talking about the boots of flying? I thought he was talking about his levitate ability as an air ganassi.
He could have been. I thought he was talking about his boots of flying.
Yeah, no, the boots of flying, it's
4 hours.
4 hours. You must use it in a 1 minute increment.
Yeah. So maybe he didn't want to waste it just getting down. So maybe he was talking about the levitate.
Yeah.
Clarification on Stonky's ring. Can't be used on creatures.
Yep.
Because a 5th level spell at will is super powerful.
Yeah, especially when you give it to a 3rd level character.
Right. I mean, that's like 14th level warlock shit. Because some of the invocations are 4th, 5th level spells at will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think episode 8, which will be this week, right?
Yes.
And no episode the following week. Right?
Yeah, I believe we've got this Thursday, and then we're off for the holidays. So it'll be 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they'll come back in January.
So I think we have an awkward.
Well, we're going to open Inspired by Fire.
Yeah.
And get to know Chetney. Possibly to probably have the arm wrestling match with Ashton and Chetney.
Yeah.
Or maybe Orem and Chetney first because, you know, they're already whipping it out and measuring their height, but, you know, same difference.
Yeah. And I have to compliment Liam because, like, Sam playing Scanlan and not Veth never had the presence of mind, the physical embodiment, being in that headspace the way Liam does.
Yeah.
Because several times, like he caught Laura in the first episode, or second episode, where he talks about hitting him on the hip and whatnot.
Yeah.
And in this episode, he mimes lifting himself up over the balcony.
Yep.
To look down. And when Travis is giving the descriptor of his character, and he is imprecise in his height, Liam's reaction was incredulous. What do you mean about?
Yeah. Well, I love it when he's like, I don't know. I'm a little taller than you, an inch or so. I don't know, maybe. Even Matt's like, you don't know? He's like, I'm on my tippy toes right now. I could have put on a different impression for these strangers. I just saw him beat up a wall. Most likely, given the base table for gnomes and halflings, most likely Travis is taller.
Yeah.
He would have had to roll very, very low to be able to beat the 3-3, to be able to be under the 3-3, because I think 3-2 is the smallest. If you roll 2 1s, you're 3-1. So he would have either had to roll, if he did the rolls.
Yeah.
It's like 3-1 is the lowest they can be, and they get like 2d8 or 2d10 added to the 211. So.
And halflings can be as short as 2-9, I think.
Yeah, they're 2-7 plus. So it's, the baseline is like a 3 or 4 inch difference.
Yeah.
So more than likely Travis's character is taller than
Yeah, Rose, I agree with you. I don't think Travis knows the exact height. I think he has an average or a roundabout height that.
Yeah, he probably wrote the part where they're around 3 foot tall.
Yeah, and that he, in talking with Matt gave him a range.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where his brain has been, and Matt didn't peg him on how tall are you?
Yeah, what is your specific height?
But that so rarely comes up in the game.
Yeah.
That just having a vague idea is often enough.
Yeah.
For people to get an idea about their characters. But I would not be surprised if Liam, either because he remembers how tall his kids were, or that he went around his house with a measuring tape.
Oh, yeah.
This is how high Orem stands, and just was measuring things around his house.
Yeah, so you would know.
Yeah, or like on his person. Okay, and so when he's out and about, and he goes, "Wow, Orem's only that tall." Okay, it would not surprise me in the least that Liam did that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree that it would be a very Liam thing to do.
Yeah. And that goes a step beyond even my knowing what
is kept where
pouch holds what. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is something, if you're going to be playing a small character, to do at least once.
Especially in a long-term campaign.
Yeah. Because just knowing where their eye line is in a room in any particular situation will help you get into that mindset and think of different things. Because I'm waiting for him to go underneath a table.
Yeah.
To look for something. Or like stuff that tall people would not think to do.
Yeah.
Because it's just not in their world. It's literally not in their worldview.
Yeah.
To do it.
Definitely.
And I think we'll see it soon, I think.
Yeah. Also, the hats off to Taliesin. Just going to kind of lightly break the table, make sure it doesn't react. Because, I mean, seriously, Campaign 1 was doors. Campaign 2 is chairs. Campaign 3 is everything inanimate.
Yeah. And, Rose, you're not wrong. Taller characters should do it, too.
Yeah.
For sure. And, or even think back to when a parent had you on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be in that 7 to 9 foot tall.
You're going to be that parent.
Yeah. So, yeah. And next week I will try to have a plan for what I'm going to do over the winter break.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm planning on I think streaming more. I'll try to have a schedule in place. But until then, we will see you guys next Tuesday.
I guess.